subject number 3, get to the point. The same speech objectives as time. The title of Mike Cribbin's speech is Truths and Myths of Teaching. 5 to 7 minutes. Please give a warm welcome to Mike.
You can see why I hate speaking last. This is not good. Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and welcome guests. How many of you are teachers out here? Really, don't be offended by what I say. What I'm going to tell you is true. It could be worse. I'm kind of giving a little cushion just for everybody in the room. There are many myths and truths about teaching, and I will try to clear some of them up for you today. Myth. All teachers have a calling to become teachers. I'm Catholic. I went to Catholic school. I was around many people who had callings, nuns and priests who felt the call to God in their lives. Brings me back to think about Father Tierney and the beautiful and wonderfully voluptuous Sister Patty Sanford, who told my mother that I was not fit to go to Catholic school. Now, the two of them had their callings to the Catholic Church, and they're living peaceful marital bliss in Georgia right now with their 3 children. Some callings are a little overrated. Theirs was. When I speak to teachers, you hear about how many teachers we lose. We lose about 50% of our new teachers every year. So when teachers have callings, those teachers who we lose, their calling sounds something like, "Hey, you made a mistake. Get out of here." And they do leave. When I speak to new teachers, one of the main conversations we have is, what are they going to be doing next year when they are no longer teaching? It's very common to hear. Another myth of teaching is that teachers age like fine wines. We really don't, not at all. If you know a teacher who's been teaching about 20 years, or at least 20 years, there's one of 3 things you can say about them. One, that probably they'll be retiring tomorrow on their 20th year and first day. The second thing you can say is the day after that, they'll be taking a solemn vow never to return to the classroom, even if paid 3 times the pay, and you teachers know what I'm talking about. And the third thing, if they've been teaching for at least 20 years, you can rest assured that they have avoided getting their picture put on the front of the Daily News in a compromising position with their 12th grade students. Which brings us to the next fact about teaching. Teachers and students are entirely too close today. Here's what I do to avoid any impropriety in class. I give a little speech beginning of every year that I teach. I give a little speech to my students. It goes something like this. Children, and they are children. Children, I care about all of you. I really do. And I know that there are going to be times when you come to school where you've had problems at home. Your mom, your dad, your step-parents, brother, sister, boys and girls. I even had a girl come to school one day. Her dog had just gotten hit by a car. True story. And I want you to know that if you have problems in your lives, come to my room. Knock on my door. The door will be locked. The lights will be out. And I will be hiding under the table like it's Halloween night and I just ran out of candy. Do not come to my room. If you have a problem, go speak to a guidance counselor. Go speak to a social worker. That's what we pay them for. Go speak to your friends. I'm not your friend. I don't have any 15-year-old friends. We're not going out to the movies. We're not going to a restaurant. You are not my friend. You want to know about chemistry? You want to know how to balance an equation? Please come to the room. I'll turn the lights back on. Fact. Schools are not for everyone. I have a friend of mine, best friend, Vinny Golia, who lives in Erin, Tennessee. Erin, Tennessee, quite a few rednecks down there, and he's picked up the drawl. But Vinny grew up in a very affluent neighborhood on Long Island. School wasn't for him. He went to vocational school, ended up in BOCES, learned how to run a printing press, became a painter of cars in BOCES, and now is a house painter in Erin, Tennessee. I think that's by Chattanooga. No, it's the other one. I forget what it is. But he's right around there, lives on about 200 acres of property. I call it the Ponderosa, has about 12 rental properties, and a really, really, really good life. Fact, students are not angels, nor are they the devils we often portray them to be. Students are going to push the envelopes. And if you're going to be a teacher, you have to understand they will push the envelope. They're children. We seem to forget this, and that's how you end up on the cover of the Daily News. But they are children. We have to treat them like that. Ann Landers said years ago that children want to know where the line is drawn in the sand. And often we just don't put that line in the sand. And if you have a child, you may have a child who comes home from school and they bring a big list of procedures and protocols that they'll be doing for the year. This is our steps that we're going to be taking. So if they do that, where does that go wrong? Follow-up. There's very little follow-up on the procedures and protocols that are put forth in schools. Fact. We need to remember that we are the adults and we are the experts. I cringe when I hear teachers say, you know, I just told my class that we are going to have a great year, that they are going to learn from me, and I am going to learn so much from them. Really? Really? Tell me what you're going to learn from a 15-year-old. Honestly, if I was the student and my teacher told me that, I would say, Mrs. Smith, we are going to have a great year. Because you're going to learn all about how bad I can be. If you really want to be the student. Myth. Creativity is overrated, especially in the United States. We tend to tell people how we teach students to think. We don't teach them to memorize facts. We teach them to think. And to be honest with you, there's a saying that goes, why do we learn things if we are not going to memorize them? Why do we learn them if we are not going to memorize them? If you really want to see how creative students are, or what they know, or how they can apply this, ask them questions. Ask a student maybe, who were the first three presidents? Or ask a student to recite a poem. Or ask a student to tell you about a simple mathematical Pythagorean theorem. They don't know. So when we say we teach students to think and be creative, that's overrated as well. Myth, if there's a problem, blame the teacher. Well, yes and no. Yes, because if you sign up for the job, you better be able to do the job. No, because we're not little Jimmy and Maria's parents. Parents need to be a little more proactive about what they're going to be doing with their students in school. But the biggest myth is that teachers tend to believe that when they go to school and they come out and they've learned all they have to do about social studies and math and science, that they can walk into a classroom and teach. And that's just not the way it is. Some people do have callings. So those people who have had callings and who are good teachers need to understand they really need to work to take that calling and build on it to become a great teacher. Great teachers are not born, they are made. Great speakers, like we know in Toastmasters, are not born, they are made. So how do we make a great teacher? That's the next speech.